Hi everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Daily Dose of MUET by Madam Modrico. This is my MUET channel, and I also have a blog called MUET My Way. So today I will be sharing with you the 101 Basic Academic English Writing course, which I shared with my webinar students the other day. So I edited the video a little bit, and this is the final result. So I hope that you enjoy and learn something about the basics of writing a good piece of academic essay. Alright, without further ado, let's watch the video.
So this is my book, MUET My Way. This is the chapter on focus writing, but I've already updated into the third edition. The third edition is coming out next year. So the entire content will be different, but the idea still remains the same. Okay, so in my book, I tell you to take 3 to 5 minutes to brainstorm. Possibly this is the hardest thing to do. Yeah. So here, there are words that can make or break the statement. So laziness is the main cause of obesity. Money alone cannot buy happiness. So these words can prove to you whether the statement stands or not. So the first thing you need to do is you need to list down your points, whether you 100% agree or 100% disagree. So the agree part, right? You say laziness. Okay, why do people become obese? Because they are lazy to exercise. See, you're answering the question because laziness in exercising. And then next one, laziness in terms of preparing healthy food. So it's easier to eat fast food. Laziness in terms of following the food pyramid. Yeah, it's easier to eat carbohydrates than to eat healthier food according to the food pyramid. Okay, so then you 100% agree. It's very easy to argue. But when you disagree, it becomes much harder to argue. Why? Because you cannot introduce new points without linking it to the issue. For example, it is not laziness, but DNA or genetics. You see, it's unrelated to laziness. Instead, it is about availability of food choices. For example, if you're from poor family, you can't buy high quality expensive proteins like salmon and steak. Instead, you eat carbohydrates which are very cheaper like rice and bread. That's why you might be obese. And it has little to do with laziness, rather it is about, okay, let me give another point. So can you see the way you phrase, right, will actually help you to argue the case. Otherwise, you have a huge problem. You are just merely giving alternatives, which is not arguing the case. And sometimes you give points that are completely off tangent. We call it off tangent, which means out of topic. Okay, so how do you arrange your essay? The easiest way to do is 100% agree. Intro, agree 1, agree 2, agree 3, conclusion. You also have intro, disagree 1, 2, 3, conclusion. But good quality essay should be partially. Why? Because you're able to see both sides of the coins. And there are many ways to write partially. You don't have to follow exactly agree 1, agree 2, and then disagree, or disagree 1, disagree 2, agree. You can even do 6 paragraphs, 2 agree, 2 disagree. Or you can terbalik it, yeah, alternate. Agree 1, disagree 1, agree 2, disagree 2. You see, there's so many ways of writing an essay in an argumentative style. Some people will ask me what is discursive essay. This discursive essay means you're supposed to explain both sides of the coin. But if you truly look at the real definition of discursive essay, it's actually about definition, causes, effects, and maybe even solutions. So the original or the actual definition of a discursive essay doesn't really occur in MUET. Yeah. And I've seen some books and some people explain discursive essay as partially. So I'm not going to use the term discursive because I disagree with it. Discursive to me is definition followed by reasons, causes, symptoms, solutions, and recommendations, for example. So I think that is the true discursive, whereas partially is just partially, whether you somewhat agree or you somewhat disagree. Now, the problem with partially is that you might disagree for 2 points and then you might agree for the last point, but suddenly in your conclusion you agree. That's where the problem lies. Because the problem is you are unable to bring the argument back to your main points, which is you mostly disagree. Okay, so you be very careful when you partially agree. Yeah? You agree first for 2 points, and then you generally disagree, but make sure the conclusion brings you back, like in Malay, I like to say, kembali ke pangkal jalan. Okay, so you go back to the point that you wholly or mostly agree. Okay, what is a high band essay? The 5 paragraph format. This one is really, really challenging. How do you do this? You agree and disagree within the same paragraph. For example, smoking should be banned in all countries. Yeah. So you say, I agree that smoking is very bad for our financial health because every time you buy a packet of cigarette, you waste up to 20 ringgit. Literally, you're burning the money away. 20 ringgit, you could be buying 5 kilograms of rice. You could buy a lot of noodles and biscuits. Whereas 20 ringgit for a pack of cigarettes is merely a waste of money. Nevertheless, can you see this one? You are actually going against yourself within the second paragraph. You say, nevertheless, many countries have never pushed to ban smoking because smoking brings in revenue for the country because of the taxes that we collect. From the taxes that we collect, because people are spending up to 20 ringgit per cigarette box, yeah, then we are able to improve infrastructure such as build more schools, yeah, and improve hospitals and roads and so on. So can you see this is a very high band kind of answer because you can agree and disagree within the same paragraph. Understand? Okay. So anyway, do what you can. If you feel that this is what you can do, 3, agree, stick to this. Yeah, it's 250 words, basic essay to pass, then 3. But if you can write 500 words and it's very convincing, you can still get band 4, band 5, no problem. If you're more ambitious, you do these. Yeah, partially agree. And if you're super ambitious and you have like a lawyer's brain, you can do this. Okay, yes. All right, so make sure you make a random list of statistics, facts, sayings, expressions, quotes, and proverbs. And then at the end, make sure you have a recommendation. Okay, what can the authorities do? What kind of suggestion you can give? Because we want to see critical thinking skill. Right, so you need to have 5 minutes for brainstorming, and towards the end, try to have at least 5 to 10 minutes for correcting your own grammar. So we want a messy brainstorming paper full of scribbles. All right, so if you buy my book, because I cannot give you this copy is copyrighted, okay? You will find that you need to have a good introduction, has 3 parts. A hook, a stand, a thesis statement. So what is a hook? Hook is in Malay is mata kaya, right? So in order to get the attention of the students or the readers, yeah, you can use these different styles of attracting the readers. So you use facts and stats, or you can start with a narrative style, a question style, example style, quotes and proverbs, as well as imagination and contrast. Okay, so if you look here, I've given samples of what it's supposed to look like. Okay, so if you want to talk about narrative, you can start with a story. Instead of starting with nowadays, yeah, you actually tell a story. Here it says here a pair of identical twins were raised under different conditions. Abu stayed with his parents in the city, mostly staying indoors and living on takeaway food like chicken rice and pizza. Meanwhile, Ali lived in the village with his grandparents and mostly ate fresh food and led an active lifestyle. It comes as no surprise that the former is obese while the latter is not. And then over here, a story would be there is a tale of a rich man's wife who dreamed of being a poor man's wife because although the couple were poverty stricken, they seemed to be so happy and content with life. Meanwhile, the same poor man's wife looked on enviously at the rich woman's husband, dreaming of being married to the rich man because she felt that money could surely buy happiness. Unbeknown to both ladies, money alone can never buy happiness. Okay, so have a good hook. A hook will actually get the examiner excited about reading your essay rather than saying, in this era of modernization, there are many cases that appeared in the newspaper. Okay, so this is really, really boring. All right, so if you look at the book, there's many ways to start your essay. Examples: Maggie, fried chicken, pizza loaded with mozzarella cheese. These are examples of fast food readily available. Or bills, a shiny new BMW, a mansion on a hill. Money can indeed buy all these things and give us some form of happiness and satisfaction. So, if you are willing to study, you need to find out how best to write a hook. So once you finish the hook, you need to have a stand. A stand will show the reader that you know exactly what you want to present. Okay, and then you don't use in my opinion, so boring already. You use something like personally speaking, in my estimation, all things considered, as far as I'm concerned, and then you can use any of these words: utterly, undisputedly, unconditionally. Yeah, rather than say I totally. Totally and strongly are so boring, right? So I developed this a long time ago and it has helped many, many students. Okay, if you want to say I partially, okay, or somewhat agree, boleh juga. So after you have a stand, okay, this is, shows you the different types of stands. Then you should have a thesis statement. So what is a thesis statement? A thesis statement must have the 3 points listed very clearly. Okay, so here, agree for low band. Okay, we have become so lazy in terms of doing exercise, cooking healthy food, and eating properly. So you have 3 points here. But if you have higher quality vocabulary, you would say cause of obesity due to our sedentary lifestyle, which means the same thing as not doing exercise, laziness to prepare healthier home cooked meals, okay, as well as being lazy to follow a healthy eating regime. So the quality of words, right, determines how high I can give you a band. Yeah, because at the end of the day, this is a language examination. Okay, so we need to identify your proficiency. See, for low band, right, you have genetics, greediness, lack of good food choices. But if you up your vocabulary, genetics, you can say hereditary tendencies, greediness change to uncontrolled food consumption, and lack of good food choices change to food availability, which is often lacking in quality. You can see how that is very clearly a better student who has much higher proficiency in language. How about partially agree? Partially agree, if you don't want to state the points clearly, boleh juga, you just give a general statement. I partially agree with the statement that laziness is the leading cause of obesity, but there are other factors that could be equally the main cause of obesity. So this is general statement, and there's nothing wrong with the general statement. It's just that if you want to be very specific, it helps the reader estimate what you're going to talk about. I would agree to a certain extent with the statement that laziness is the leading cause of obesity in terms of how it influences our lifestyle choices, but there are other factors that could be the main cause, namely genetics or greed. So this essay is actually 1, agree, and 2, disagree. Yeah. All right. So a thesis statement is very important. If you don't have a good thesis statement, you cannot have a good introduction. Then for your body paragraphs, you need 4 parts: topic sentence, reasons and elaboration, examples, and then as well as a concluding sentence. Oleh itu sentence. All right. So what is a topic sentence? MUET is actually very boring. You need to have the first point in the first sentence. You see, yeah? If the thesis statement is like this, then TSA, this one, sedentary lifestyle, should be in the first sentence. First and foremost, laziness is the main cause of obesity because people gain a lot of weight when they live a sedentary lifestyle. You see? And then you compare with the conclusion. For this paragraph, a good conclusion must have the topic sentence A1, this is A1, okay? And then it must combine with the title itself. What is the title of the essay? Leading cause of obesity. Thus, it is without a doubt the laziness in terms of how inactive a person is and the lack of physical movement is the leading cause of obesity among people these days. So you can see that the green color means exactly the same as this one, this green color. But we are paraphrasing. So the skill that we need in writing a concluding sentence is we need to learn to paraphrase. Okay? So again, if you can buy my book and read up on this section, I've given a lot of examples. I can't go through every single example, but I can show you, okay, how it works over here. Right. So you say here, see, this is the first sentence. After that, you give the reason. This is because blah, 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 and moreover, blah, blah, blah. We try to give 2 or 3 sentences here for the reasons and elaboration. Then you give the examples. Take, for example, blah, 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 blah. So you give examples, okay? So what makes a good conclusion? Thus, it is without a doubt that laziness in terms of how inactive a person is. So this is topic sentence A1, right? And then combine it with the title. And the lack of physical movement is the leading cause of obesity amongst people these days. All right. So does everybody understand how to write a good introduction and body paragraph so far? So again, intro is what? Intro. Intro, you need hook, plan, and thesis statement. Okay, so body, you have 4 parts, right? So you have topic sentence, okay, reasons and elaboration, okay, examples. I'm going to call it concrete examples. What's the difference between example and concrete examples? Okay, and then you have mini conclusion. What's the difference between example and concrete example? Does anybody know? Okay, a concrete example means real name of people, real name of places. And that's what I tried to teach you with the speaking as well, right? Remember, you have to give real evidence that you are reading well and you know a lot of current issues. For example, cyberbullying, you talk about Pandalila Rinong as well as Farah and the gymnast. Both of them have been cyberbullied for being too sexy when they are doing their sports events. But can you imagine both of them wearing tracksuits and jumping into the pool or wearing a full tracksuit and doing their gymnastics? It's ridiculous, isn't it? Okay, so because I said Pandalila Reno before I said Para N, and I mentioned gymnastics and I mentioned tracksuits, you're able to visualize. So this is what we call concrete examples. Okay. So later on, if you want to advance your writing skills, you need to be able to counter argue within your paragraphs, add imagined scenarios, add proverbs and quotes, add facts and stats. But we shall leave this for another day because this is very high level. We'll come back to it one day. Yeah? Or you just buy the book and you study the book. Let's look at the conclusion. So for the conclusion, it's a recap of the thesis statement. Again, you are going to write it in higher quality or better quality phrasing. Yeah. So again, talk about buying true friendship, and then you can change it to the strong bond between or amongst friends. Buying back time that has gone by, and then with time, and then buy our health. So you cannot buy our health, right? So you just take the phrase that you used earlier in your introduction, and then in the conclusion, you rephrase, yeah, or you paraphrase with better quality vocabulary. Okay, so for after the recap or reiterate, then you restate your stand. So only difference between this one and the original stand is the word I still, completely, absolutely, a seed, that, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Of course, you don't have to follow my format 100%. But if you can follow, it means that your essay will be very well organized. Yeah. And once you get the language memorized and you know the framework, then during the exam, all you have to do is put in the points. Okay. All right. And then the last part is you give a recommendation. So I've developed this table a long time ago, and it's again very useful for my students. So, for example, the authorities through the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Health or Education should, yeah, spearhead an effective blueprint, wow, or an effective game plan to curb, yeah, the phone addiction by, after by always ing, yeah, in terms of grammar, by tightening the laws and increasing the punishment and penalty, or by setting up a special task force, or by providing special training. There's so many things that you can write about, but these are the words that I want my students to memorize so that it's very easy for them to come up with recommendations. Okay? Okay. And so, what does a good essay look like? It looks like this. Intro with the three parts: hook, stand, thesis statement. Second body paragraph, which is the first point. Four parts: topic sentence, reasons, examples, concluding sentence. Okay? Followed by two more body paragraphs. If you're Rajin, you can write 6 paragraph system, which is 4 body paragraphs. And then the conclusion is to recap, reiterate, and recommend. Okay, let's look at the question that is appeared over here. If students are unable to provide concrete examples, can they use examples based on their own experience? Yes, Grace. Very good to have individual experiences in there. So if you're talking about cyberbullying, you say a friend of mine, a classmate of mine was cyberbullied so badly that she didn't come to school for 2 weeks and she even tried to kill herself. Well, nobody can dispute that fact because it happened to the student in their own life, or even if they made it up, nobody would know. But does it go to prove the point? Does it go to towards explaining the or arguing the title or the topic? If it does, then let's take it as it is. Okay. So A, they can make up facts. B, they can refer to their own experiences, as long as it sounds convincing and logical. Okay. Because at the end of the day, you cannot justify or prove that everything the student has written is true. And this is not a factual exam. This is a linguistic exam. We're only looking at the language, whether the language is good enough to justify the point. Okay? See, this is another version, Money Alone and the Happiness. And this one, I added critical thinking elements in order to get higher marks, yeah, for band 4.5 to band 5 plus. Okay, so far so good, everybody? Thumbs up?
So how was it? Did you learn a lot? Let's hope so. I hope that you do use the information that I've shared with you. You can get more of the information by buying the book, and like I said, the new edition will be out next year. So this whole material will be replaced with another set of content because we're going to give you new materials, and I hope that you will look forward to either buying the locally available current one or the future one that will be available hopefully by next year. Alright, this is Madam Audrey signing out. Have a nice day.